Alright, welcome back everyone to part 2 of what Yugimoto was the lead of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. I'm late on this. I really just, I got to the point where I was like, okay, it was time to do the video yesterday. I'm just like, I'm kind of crunched for a little for time. I still need to take a shower from work. I knew it wasn't going to be up to snuff for what I wanted to do. So here we are. Now, we got to address one or two things that honestly are legitimately need to be addressed. A, is this and this is the big one, is this in continuity with my previous What If, where Jaden was the lead of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters? And my initial thought was, yeah, it is. But then someone correctly pointed out, because I hadn't done that What If in some time, so I didn't remember everything, I had given Jaden the Millennium Puzzle, too. And therefore, if I have Jaden have the Millennium Puzzle and the Pharaoh be sealed away or brought back to the afterlife, that means Yugi can't have the Millennium Puzzle here. But the whole idea of Yugi being the lead of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX would still be it's Yugi as he was in the Duel Monster series, so he should have the Millennium Puzzle. So that caused a little bit of a conundrum there. I'm like, well, okay, how do I want to deal with this then? My thought process is this. Because there are alternate timelines in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Lore in all the series, particularly in Arc 5, we see a lot of like the Alexis and the Atlas who show up there, the Crow and the what's his name, the Destiny Hero duelist, the Aster in those series are not even from the original series, as far as we know. They're from like an alternate dimension. We can make some exceptions and say this is just an alternate timeline where Jaden still did the whole, Duel Monster stuff. He just didn't have the Millennium Puzzle. And so Yugi can still have the Millennium Puzzle here, and I think it all works out relatively fine. And so there's that. One other thing that people brought up that I realized, because it was my first episode, I really wasn't focusing too much on, is the fact that because it's a slice of life series, I didn't focus a lot on the slice of life aspects of the series. I didn't focus a lot on that. And people, one person commented it felt like I kind of speed ran through it. And you're not entirely wrong on that, to be honest, when I think about it. And it wasn't my intention to do so. That was the way I had structured it at that time. So I'm going to try to slow things down between each little section, kind of deal with Yugi and his environment and how he maybe interacts with some of the filler duels that aren't like the main series or aren't important to the plot. Last thing that got brought up too is that the promotion duel that he had with Chaz, because that actually was a promotion duel. I forgot about that. Here's the thing. I get the impression that Yugi, who very much like Jaden is very loyal to his friends, might ignore the promotion. Like, he maybe just doesn't decide to do it because he just doesn't want. He's loyal to his friend, and he likes, like, honestly, he probably wears red better than he wears yellow. If I were to look at Yugi's outfit right here, which honestly just looks like a slightly if I were to just change the colors on there, you could make an argument it's one of the uniforms. If I were to actually say obviously, if Yugi was an obelisk blue, it looked the best on him based on what he normally wore. I'd have him wear like the blue coat or like a dark blue version of what, like, say, Atticus and Zane wear. Because I'm like, I look at those outfits. I'm like, you get either the solid red with the white outlining or solid color with the white outlining, or the inverse. Although I never saw that with the raw yellows. Yeah, I know I'm focusing on very weird things, but yeah, thinking on it, you get that with obelisk blue and slifer red. You get the solid color with the white trimming, or the vice versa, the white color with the red or blue trimming. But you don't see that with the raw yellows. You only see yellow with the white trimming. Now they at least get the cool trench coat outfits, which, by the way, I would at least want to be a raw. I mean, think honestly, Slifer Red probably looked the best on me, though. blue. I look good in blue too. The yellow, not so much, but I at least want it to be either a raw yellow or a obelisk blue, just so I can get a badass trench coat as my school uniform. I would like that, please. Yes. Um, but regardless, so catching up to the after the last part where Yugi dueled Zane and they had their test to basically, I think words here, their test to not test, their not their expulsion duel against the Paradox Brothers to basically keep them in the school. Yugi would. There's a lot of slice of life stuff that's happening at this point. Should recap real quick that Yugi's relationship with Alexis, because it would be at this point that the Ready Set Duel, I think it was, the him dueling the tennis duelist was happening. So Yugi's relationship with Alexis. Let's talk about that for a second. I think I don't think she finds him as attractive as she found Jaden. Because honestly, she kind of quickly got onto the Jaden train a little bit. No, she wasn't like fanning over him. She's not like, oh, Jaden. No, she wasn't like. But like, admittedly, like example that paradox duel. She says, I'm just glad Jaden gets to stay here. Didn't even talk, and he mentioned and Cyrus, right? Of course. Moving on. Yeah, legitimately, she was at that point. It's clear she had a thing for Jaden. And it developed into an actual feelings and romance and love for him come by season 4. That said, I don't now when the Pharaoh is involved, I do see her admiring him more because that confidence is there and all that. And I don't even see the Pharaoh maybe taking over in every single duel. Like honestly, for a lot of the filler stuff, when it's for a lot of the filler stuff, when he's not, say, dueling something like Wheeler because of the whole scientist and all that, I don't actually see the Pharaoh getting involved here. I think Yugi here has actually been able to develop enough confidence as he's going on, especially with his friend Cyrus, who's even more meek than he was. And to be fair, Yugi's not meek. He's just a very soft-hearted kid, but he's also got a strong heart. He's soft-hearted in the sense that he doesn't want violence, but he will stand up even without the Pharaoh. He will stand up to bullies. That's how him and Joey and Tristan became friends. Even though they bullied him, he stood up and tried to protect them, despite the fact he got his ass kicked doing so. So I see him being in charge a lot of the times when it comes to some of the lesser important duels. And because of that, I don't see. He's a very nice kid. He's very sweet, and I could see her being attracted to him later down the line as they get older. But as it stands, I don't see her developing attraction to him right now. I could also see his relationship with Cyrus actually being a little bit not better than him and Jaden. Although Jaden sometimes was a bit of an idiot, like trading his bed, Cyrus' bed, for a card for his birthday. Like, great, now where's he gonna sleep, Jaden? Just saying, buddy. But that being said, I think the relationship would be similar but different. Like Yugi, for a long time, was kind of a Cyrus. He didn't have any friends. He just wanted friends. He was definitely a little on the meek side, certainly, and he didn't have confidence in himself. And then later, the Pharaoh came and helped him out with that, and we get Yugi as he is right now. But yeah, I think because of that, he can relate to Cyrus more and help him with his confidence in a different way. I was like you, Cyrus. I didn't have any confidence in myself whatsoever, but I loved dueling and I made friends, blah, 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 blah. I could see that kind of interaction happening. And so, we would be moving along until we get to the first of the 4 main. That's, I think, by the way, how I'm gonna do these series. I'm gonna look at the 4 main important duels and that come up at each point, and then just kind of quickly go over some of the other ones. So the first one that comes up is the duel off, the one to see who's the representative, and that's Bastion. Now, this, right out the gate, this probably wouldn't be this. Yugi's probably like used either Dark Paladin or Chimera, so he's seen the polymerization at work. And if we're gonna look at eras, technically speaking, if we're looking at the eras, we know that Duel Monster was the overall era of the card game, all that. We know that 5Ds is the Synchro era, Arc V is the Pendulum, or sorry, Zexal is the XYZ era. Arc 5 is the Pendulum era. Vrains is the Link era. GX was kind of unofficially the Fusion era. It was never truly the Fusion. I mean, it was never truly designated that, but it's by the fandom, it's kind of designated that because it was very heavily relied on Fusion. But the reason it's not always called that is because Fusion existed previously in the game. It was just a lot more focus on it in the show. Like almost everyone in that series uses Fusion on some level. I think the only ones I can remember who don't are Bastion. Oddly enough, we got him up here right now. I know Atticus didn't. He was a Red Eyes player. But I mean, thinking on the real, thinking like all the main players, even Elizabeth Chumley still used Fusion. We know Crowler did in fact use Fusion as the series near the end of the series. So he had his ultimate ancient gear golem. He had that, so he did it. We know Astra uses Fusion. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to call, and Hasselberry uses Fusion. So I think it is fair to call GX the Fusion era. I really do think it is. Jesse Anderson didn't use Fusion. He was a Crystal Beast player. But yeah, I think it is fair to say that this was the Fusion era. So I do want to say, because of that, and because Yugi has probably also swapped out cards for it. I have a deck list I go to. I think it's on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or something like that. When I typed in Yugi's GX era deck, that was the deck they gave me, and I've altered it slightly for the series because of cards he's used. But you could probably see him still using, the Gaia, the Fierce Knight, Curse of Dragon archetype to create Gaia, the Dragon Champion. We could still definitely Dark Paladin's on there. Chimera's definitely on there. There have been other fusions Yugi has used in the past, but I don't see him being a heavy fusion player, but I think I see him being heavy enough that having more than one, that that Bastion still does the curse seal tactic to eliminate that. But that being said, let's actually talk about this duel. The duel starts off, and Bastion went first, summoning Carbon Geddon in defense mode. That's all he did. Yugi draws. In his hand, I'm not going to really go over most of what his hand is, except for the final one. I'm just going to give the basics. He had Pot of Greed. He played Pot of Greed, drew Blackluster Soldier, and Skilled Dark Magician. He also had Valkyrie in his hand, so he would summon Valkyrie, attack Carbon Geddon. Great. Bastion would then draw the Curse Seal, set it, summon Oxygeddon, and attack the Valkyrie. This would cause Yugi to lose 200 life points, putting him down to 3,800. Yugi draws Shift, sets it, plays Skilled Dark Magician, attacks, and deals 100 to Bastion. It is at this moment in the duel that Bastion is pretty screwed, because Bastion's play after this was to summon Hydrogeddon. Playably, it was Living Fossil to bring back Oxygeddon, and he attacked, I believe, Burstinatrix. Was it Burstinatrix? I want to say it was Burstinatrix. And then summon another Hydrogeddon to play H2O Binding to bring out the Water Dragon you see there. Unfortunately, with Skilled Dark Magician out on the field, that's not a playable move now. He can't bring out another Hydrogeddon, and therefore he can't do the combo. Skilled Dark Magician is going to attack again. Yugi's probably going to end up drawing another creature pretty soon. And before he draws a spell that lets him summon a creature, my guess is because he has a lot of creatures in the list I found, he would draw another creature, and then just start putting Bastion on the defense, and Bastion just wouldn't really have a way to get around that. So Bastion would pretty quickly lose that duel. There wasn't much else that happened beyond that, that was relevant. I really do kind of want to now rewatch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, because I had a good time with that series. I've said it before, I kind of like the first two seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX a bit more than some of the seasons of the original Duel Monsters. And someone kind of gave me their opinion. They thought that the season 4 was the best season. Here's the problem with season 4 for me. I actually think season 3 is the weakest. And I think I saw someone put season 2 is the weakest. Here's the problem with season 3 and 4 for me. I think I said this before, but I think it bears repeating. Season 3 went very much more in the the world's at stake range. And then going into the other dimension, I'm going to be honest, I didn't dig on that very much. It here's the thing, it's kind of the moral that Jaden got taught by Yugi at the end. It took fun out of the series. Not saying the series still wasn't good, and season 4 still got a lot of cool duels. Season 4 has actually got a lot of cool duels. I like season 4 a lot, don't get me wrong. But it, like, you did actually feel a loss of fun out of the series. There was a lot more serious vibes going on there. Actually, it felt a little bit like Dawn of the Duel, where I'm like, I like what I'm watching, but this isn't necessarily Yugioh anymore. Now, granted, that was Yugi. You were still seeing the duels, all that, in season 4. But that's kind of my feeling. Season 3 started a little, kind of ended up there, whereas the first half wasn't quite the same. But yeah, I just, well, yeah, the world's still at stake from the Sacred Beast and from Sartorius. I don't know. I just like the vibe of season 1 and 2 a lot better than season 3 and 4. And again, that's no shade on them, just as my personal opinion. Speaking of which, let's move on. Chaz versus Yugi. I mean, look at Yugi with this. He even put on a wig for this. How his hair's fitting on there, I don't know. But yeah, Chaz versus Yugi. So obviously Chaz would come back. They are the representatives for the school duel. Now, Chaz started out his turn by summoning Mass Dragon, which when it's destroyed, you're allowed to summon another dragon-type monster as long as it's got 1,500 or less attack. Yugi starts out by summoning again Valkyrie, Magician's Valkyrie. He actually ends up I did this randomly. I think he started 3 of his 4 duels out with it. Magician's Valkyrie in attack mode, and he attacks and he ends his turn. Unfortunately, he had a very creature-heavy hand. Summons out his Armed Dragon. Chaz then brings out Armed Dragon level 5. He then attacks Valkyrie. Here's the thing. He can't, if I remember correctly, and I had to look it up. He can't destroy a monster or use Armed Dragon's effect because Valkyrie's attack power is greater than is greater than the attack power of the Kamakiri in his hand. So he just attacks. Although he could summon Kamakiri, I do think it'd be a little irrelevant here. Yugi draws Magician's Dimension, or Magical Dimension. He also had Breaker in his hand, and at this point, Chaz is set called the Haunted. So he summons Breaker. He uses its effect. I love Breaker, by the way. I have Breaker in one the Hodgepodge deck I still have. It's a side note. It's amazing how cards have changed. Breaker was an ultra rare card when it was released. Now you can get a common version of it. It's amazing because it's all the reprints and stuff. It's just weird how way things work. But he destroys the Call to Haunt in the back. Then he plays Magical Dimension, which not only brings out the Dark Magician, that Chaos he had in his hand, but also destroys a card on the field. In this case, Dark Dragon, Armed Dragon level 4. And then he'd attack either Kamakiri, or if he didn't summon Kamakiri, then he would just attack him directly. This also allows him to bring back the dimension, Magician's Dimension, because that's what Magician of Black Chaos is capable of doing, is bringing back a spell from your hand. And when cards are destroyed, they're removed from play. They're from with Dark Magician of Chaos. It's not a effect where it goes to the graveyard. It gets removed. And so Chaz at this point would be in a load of trouble. Not just a huge load of trouble. Because let's actually be clear, even if Armed Dragon's effect still worked out the way it did here and he destroyed Magician's Valkyria, he still wouldn't have been able to wipe out Yugi's life points here. And so it's like, I draw. And so, yeah, that's basically what would happen here, is that Chaz would, again, just like Bastion, get put on the defense, and it would be terrible. Now, the Grave Risk episode, fighting the Gravekeeper. This would be a very different interaction, because the Gravekeeper would see the Millennium Puzzle and be shocked. It cannot be. You have the Millennium Puzzle. It's like, well, what about it? It's like, you are not worthy of such a powered item. You will give it, you will surrender it now. It's like, and then all of a sudden, the Pharaoh just say, I don't think so. It's like, it cannot be the Pharaoh. No, you cannot be him. It's like, you will let my friends go right now. It's like, you here, that presence, it can't be. There's only one way the only way for you to prove who you are. If you defeat me in a duel, then I will release your friends. Oh, very well. Let's duel. And so the games begin. Now, I'll focus a little bit more on this duel, but this is not the one where I actually have more images present. So it's all right. And the Gravekeeper goes first. He set one monster, which is Gravekeeper's Guard, with 1900 defense, which when it's flipped returns a monster to the hand. Yugi's hand, I'll actually go over what he had in his hand. He has Alpha and Gamma and Valkyria, the Magna Warrior, Blackluster Soldier, was it Dark Magic or Dark Magician? Yeah, I think it was Dark Magician, because I'm writing this down. And Regulation of Tribe. Yugi summons Gamma, the Magnet Warrior, to attack with 1500. He attacks the face-down monster, but it's revealed to be Gravekeeper's Guard. And so he loses 400 attack points, and Gamma goes back to his hand. Yugi sets Regulation of Tribe and ends his turn. Then he summons Gravekeeper's... the Chief summons Gravekeeper's Spearmaster, switches the other guy to attack mode, and tries to attack Yugi directly, but activate Regulation of Tribe. As long as I can declare a monster type, and as long as this card's on the field, that monster type cannot attack. I named Spellcaster! And so the spell, they can't attack. I had to double check what their type was. But unfortunately, without a monster to sacrifice, Yugi has to basically sacrifice the card. So it would be Yugi's turn. He draws Breaker, the Magical Warrior. He resummons Gamma in attack mode and attacks the Gravekeeper's Guard. The Gravekeeper loses 500 life points. The Chief basically sets a card and ends his turn, which would be Gravekeeper's Curse. Yugi draws Dedication through Light and Dark. Yugi summons Alpha the in defense mode and attacks the face down card, which would be Gravekeeper's Curse, which won't be able to do anything here. Now you might be wondering, why is he not summoning Breaker right now? Well, the answer to that is a little bit of plot point, but if you think about it, strategy. There's no point on summoning Breaker at this moment. Yes, it's a 1900 attacker, but the real power of Breaker is to destroy a spell on the field or a trap on the field. And if you don't, if there's nothing on the field, and Yugi's got other monsters to play, it's better to hold on to that so he can maybe use it later. Which, by the way, Chief plays Gravekeeper's Assailant, Necro Valley. They basically attack Alpha, destroy, which boosts both the spear and the spears attack and assailants are assailants and spears, yes. And so they both attack. Yugi would lose some life points, but then he draws, and I didn't really care about where the draw was on this particular one, because then he summons Breaker, destroys Necro Valley, and then attacks and destroys that. And at that point, the Gravekeeper is not going to be in a good spot. Yugi is just going to continue to draw into cards that are going to, and Yugi beats him. So, I see. And eventually, I think eventually what would happen is he would probably, because he got Blackluster in his hand, he would probably bring out Blackluster Soldier and just wipe out the field. Just remove monsters from play and then attack directly, or just attack. I mean, BLS can't attack directly after using an effect, but still. And so Yugi is I see, you truly are the great Pharaoh. I offer you this. Forgive us. We needed to know. I understand, but what is with everything? Because a great darkness is coming again, Pharaoh. And just like you did before in the past, you must help save us all. It's like, what kind of darkness? You will know when the time is right, but please, until then, take this. And so he gives him the coin, although the coin's power is kind of irrelevant here because he has the Millennium Puzzle. But yeah, there was like one or two, I believe. Now it gives him half the coin. I believe Atticus has the other half. Speaking of which, I believe there was like one minor duel in between there, but then you have Atticus, or Darkness as he was called. Now, this is one where I will actually bring up some card images, or at least images of the card. Atticus starts the duel. Now, he started with, now I believe it was Yugi who went first, right? Yeah. So Yugi draws, and his hand consisted of Mirror Force, Mage Power, Magician's Dimension, Breaker the Magical Warrior, Gamma, and what was the other card? Korean card, Monster Reincarnation. So he would summon Gamma in defense mode. Makes sense. He would also set Mirror Force, and he ends his turn. Atticus went Red Eyes Black Chick, Red Eyes Black Dragon, Infernal Fire Blast, which Yugi can't counter, so he's already down to 1,600 life points. Then he sacrificed Red Eyes because it can't attack for Red Eyes Darkness Dragon, whose attack power already would be at 3,000, and then he attacks. However, Yugi activates Mirror Force. There you go, Mirror Force. By the by, Mirror Force, one of the first Ultra Rares I ever pulled. I've since lost that Ultra, years ago when I was still heavily playing, I got my shit stolen. And so that included my original copy of Mirror Force. And it pissed me off. That was one of my favorite, still to this day, is one of my favorite trap cards. And they've done a lot of variations. And the game has changed a little bit where Mirror Force isn't quite as good now. But let's not mince words. As long as there's no negate for it, or counter, or something that's immune to, which there's a lot of things that do that, Mirror Force is still a fantastic card. I love Mirror Force. Loved it. But yeah, he activates Mirror Force and destroys Red Eyes Black Dragon, which you can't do anything against. And so Yugi then just like, I'm sorry, but it's over. It's like, what? You don't have enough attack points to get rid of me, to kill me. It's like, I summon Breaker, the magical warrior in attack mode, which would be about 3,400. He also has Monster Reincarnation, so he sets Monster Reincarnation and then would play Mage Power, which, if you don't know what Mage Power does real quick, it's the magic equivalent of United We Stand. United Stand gives your monster 800 attack for each monster you have. Mage Power gives you 500 attack for each spell and trap card you have, which is up to 3,000 attack. So guaranteed 500. By the by, fun, and so he summons that and he beats Atticus, and there's a big explosion, and he saves him. And they're kind of all passed out. Yugi probably would be having a conversation with the Pharaoh about what's going on. He's like, it's what the Graveweaver spoke to us about, Yugi. There's a darkness coming, and we must be prepared. So that's where we're gonna end it right now. Actually, Feel of Screens is next, and that will be the next major one we talk about. Him versus Camilla. But last thing I want to just point out, fun fact about the Breaker card. If you look at the artwork here, you can see, whoop, that's the wrong one. You can see, come on, give me Breaker. There we go. You can see, see that guy's mouth there? I used to always think there was some giant eye in there. I never looked at it close enough, but when you look at it, it's like, it looks like a big eye in there. So I was just used to think it was just like some big weird thing in there. But I digress. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Later.